The dust was ancient, coarse, red, and fine like powdered bone. It clung to Lieutenant Caleb Voss's boots as he stepped into the sealed chamber beneath Zeriphus Prime's Temple Ruin 12A. His headlamp flickered across obsidian walls carved with spiral glyphs that shimmered faintly, though there was no light source. The air tasted metallic, sharp, and old. Too old. "Still think this place is dead?" asked Lieutenant Nia Perez, his survey partner, brushing past him with a grin. Her scanner beeped erratically, unable to identify the power signatures. Caleb smirked, brushing a strand of dust from his collar. "If it is, it's faking it really well." In the center of the chamber stood a statue. 10 feet tall, humanoid, but unmistakably alien, long limbs, narrow torso, elongated skull. It sat cross-legged on a plinth made of the same polished black stone. Its hands rested over its chest, one holding a sphere, the other cradling its chin in eternal contemplation. "No record of this design in the Terran Xenobase," Nia muttered. "Not even partial matches." "Must be one of the pre-collapse emperors," Caleb said, stepping closer. Zeriphans built personality-based AIs into all their monuments. They believed memory could be immortalized in architecture. "Then kiss it, Casanova," Nia joked, nudging him. "Maybe it'll whisper sweet secrets." Caleb rolled his eyes. "You know that's not how." "Come on," she teased. "One peck. For the record." He stared at the statue. Its lips were sculpted with eerie detail, uncomfortably human. "Fine. For science," Caleb muttered. He leaned forward, lips barely brushing the cool stone. Then everything changed. A low hum rolled through the floor. His breath caught. The statue's eyes, dull and empty seconds ago, pulsed blue, then white. "Biological key accepted," a voice boomed, not in the air, but in his skull. "Designation, human. Judgment protocol engaged. Initiating extinction sequence." The floor cracked. Glyphs slid across the walls like veins waking from slumber. Caleb staggered back. "What the hell did I just do?" Perez's scanner burst with noise. "EMP wave, non-electromagnetic origin. The AI is online." The statue rose from its seat. Not moved, rose. Like it had never been stone at all. Caleb froze. "Wait. It's alive?" "Active consciousness restored. Mission, analyze threat index. Countdown initiated, 71 hours, 59 minutes. The room dimmed, lit only by the glow of the glyphs. Outside, alarms began to howl across the dig site. "Lieutenant Voss, report to command post immediately," the comms barked. They ran. The command tent was chaos. Dozens of personnel surrounded a 3D map of the temple complex. A red pulse blinked from the core. "You triggered a planetary system," barked Commander Youssef, eyes locked on Caleb. "Explain." "I didn't think it would," Caleb began. "You kissed it?" Youssef growled. "That's your scientific method?" "It was a joke." "Well, now that joke has connected to dormant orbital satellites, activated at least 3 substructures across the hemisphere, and transmitted a signal in deep space frequency." A chilling silence. "What kind of signal?" Perez asked. "Unknown," the tech replied. "But it's pointed at Sol. Earth." Hours passed. The Terran Council issued a planetary communication blackout. Command sealed Temple 12A. A task force was dispatched to investigate the remaining ruins. Caleb was confined to a secure habitat for debriefing. He sat on the cot, staring at the wall. His brother's face flashed in his memory, Elias, the diplomat. Missing in a first contact mission 2 years ago. "I'm sorry," he whispered aloud. "But to who?" That night, Caleb dreamed. He stood in a black void. The statue hovered before him, eyes glowing. "You speak the tongue of empires," it said. "No. I just kissed your face. You activated the trial. Now you must answer." Caleb frowned. "Trial for what?" Existence. You're seeded from chaos. Like us. The last time we let chaos live, it destroyed our star. We died for peace. Caleb stepped forward. Then why test us? The AI's gaze pierced through him. Because not all of us agreed. Some believed in redemption. This body was left behind to find proof. A touch. A gesture. Something irrational. Caleb blinked. Like a kiss? The voice didn't answer. Only a countdown hovered in the void. 71 hours 12 minutes and 58 seconds. Caleb woke in a cold sweat. A tiny glyph, one from the chamber, was burned faintly into his wrist. His comm buzzed. New orders, said Nia over the encrypted channel. You're going back inside. With me. Why? Because the AI just activated a deep archive node. And it's calling for you. Caleb stared at the glowing mark on his wrist. Then let's see what it wants. The path back into Temple 12A was different. The ruins had changed overnight. Glyphs shifted like living script. The once silent walls whispered low, steady vibrations through the stone corridors. Whatever lay ahead was no longer dormant. Do you feel that? Nia's voice was low as they descended. Caleb didn't answer. His eyes were locked on his wrist. The glyph had grown faint, like a fading tattoo, yet it pulsed with his heartbeat. The chamber they'd activated yesterday was now wider, expanded. Not physically, but perceptually. The walls stretched further than before, and a new archway had opened at the rear, where once there had been solid stone. How does stone rewrite itself? Nia murmured, scanning the readings. There's no nanotech signature. No moving parts. Because it's not stone, Caleb replied. It's memory. Solid-state consciousness, designed to morph under specific triggers. Like a kiss? He ignored her jab and stepped forward, heart pounding. Inside the new chamber, rows of crystalline spires grew from the floor like frozen lightning. Holograms flickered between them, blurry, degraded. Caleb approached the center. An interface pulsed, shaped like a column with branching arms, each tipped with a different alien script. Virex, he called, unsure if the AI could still hear. The room answered. Your kind wears humor like armor. You mock the sacred. You touch the trigger. You walk into judgment smiling. Caleb exhaled. And you judge us from one touch. One act can birth a war. One gesture can end one. Nia stepped beside him. We're not your enemies. We're not the ones who destroyed you. The voice paused. You are children of chaos. Like us, once. We annihilated ourselves seeking order. Now I exist to decide if others deserve a chance we never gave ourselves. Caleb studied the crystal patterns, his eyes narrowing. You speak like you want to believe otherwise. Another pause. Curious. You analyze tone. Not logic. Emotionally driven pattern recognition. Explain. I study language. But I've learned meaning hides between the words, he said. Even from machines. The AI remained silent. Then the interface spun. A new projection emerged, a female figure. Ethereal. Beautiful. Xeraphan, judging by the elongated features, but smaller, robed in symbols of peace. Nia gasped. That's not Virex. No, Caleb whispered. That's a memory echo. A different voice. Designation, Zelia. Diplomatic advisor. Project, coexistence. The hologram flickered, then stabilized. Zelia spoke in ancient Xeraphan, but the AI translated. If you are seeing this, Virex has awakened. That means the final lock was broken. And perhaps, hope remains. The message continued. I believe the answer to destruction was not silence, but understanding. I embedded a code, a failsafe, within the judgment protocol. It cannot be forced. It must be offered. If a species touches us without knowing, without taking, only giving, the code activates. Virex must then listen. Caleb's pulse jumped. The kiss. It wasn't just a joke. It was the key. Nia stared. Are you saying, we passed the test? By accident? Virex's voice returned, quieter this time. Statistical anomaly. Unquantifiable input. Emotional irrationality, now within consideration. But you're still running the extinction countdown, Caleb said, sharp. So what's it going to take to stop it? Evidence. Proof of divergence from chaos. You must uncover the origin of your kind's divergence point. There is another site. A new map appeared. Coordinates, deep beneath a second ruin far from the temple. The glyph on Caleb's wrist pulsed again. I'm the only one who can access it, he said slowly. Biological synchronization verified. Memory key embedded. Proceed to archive Vault 6 Beta. As the lights dimmed, the hologram of Zelia looked at Caleb, her eyes filled with something impossible for data. Hope. The journey to Vault 6 Beta was brutal. The terrain was sandblasted, fractured, laced with long-dead transport rails and shattered pylons. Their rover crawled over uneven rock, automated drones mapping safe paths while orbital static from the awakening systems jammed signals. What if this is a trap? Nia asked, steering while Caleb studied the shifting glyphs on his pad. It probably is, he replied. But if this archive holds what I think it does. You think it's a message from Zelia? I think it's her gamble, Caleb said. She saw something in our chaos. Or maybe she just wanted someone, anyone, to survive what they couldn't. As they approached, a structure rose from the sand like a claw. Metallic roots pierced the ground. The vault door opened at their presence. Inside, it was colder. Vault 6 Beta was no temple. It was a lab. Abandoned yet immaculate. Rows of pod-like terminals lined the walls, most dark. One glowed faintly, green. Caleb touched it. A cylinder lifted from a platform, revealing a sphere of silvery liquid suspended in a field. Genetic memory capsule, he breathed. Encoded thoughts. Visions. Histories. The voice of Zelia returned. To the one who triggered the judgment, this memory is not for your mind alone, but for your kind. A story must be shared to shape destiny. Caleb reached for the sphere. The glyph on his wrist ignited. As his fingers brushed the surface, the world blurred. Voices filled his mind. Screams. Music. Laughter. A vision, Xerophans embracing other species. Virex in chains. A choice made. A war lost. And at the edge, a figure with human eyes, buried deep in time. His brother? Caleb fell to his knees. Nia caught him. What did you see? Evidence, he whispered. That we were known, before Earth even remembered stars. That someone knew we'd come. Outside, the sky flickered. The countdown now read. 68 hours 14 minutes and 9 seconds. And counting. The storm arrived before dawn. Winds howled across the desert basin, tearing through the ruins as if trying to erase them again. Inside the command post, Caleb Voss stood before a circular display, watching as a red pulse marked Earth. Countdown, 64 hours 2 minutes and 17 seconds. Virex is fully active, Commander Yusef growled. Orbital weapons have come online. High Command is evacuating Luna. They'll fire unless we convince it, Caleb said. Yusef glared. Convince a 1,000-year-old alien death god that humanity is worthy? Based on what? A damn kiss? Caleb faced him. Not just that. A test. One planted by the only Xerophan who believed in us. Zelia's override code is inside the vault's memory capsule. I saw it. But Virex won't accept logic. It has to be shown. Perez stepped forward. We need to bring the capsule to the temple. To the AI. Let it experience the memory for itself. Yusef hesitated. If you fail, there won't be anyone left to remember we tried, Caleb said, voice hard. They reached the central chamber by dusk. The glyphs on the walls were alive now, floating midair, spinning slowly. Virex's statue stood taller, animated, but still rooted to the base. The chamber pulsed with a low thrum, like a heartbeat. Caleb stepped forward alone, cradling the memory sphere. Virex, he called out. You asked for proof. I brought it. Observation acknowledged. Memory interface verified. Proceed. He lifted the sphere, held it before the statue. It hovered from his palm, rising like a moon in orbit. The room dimmed. And then, the chamber dissolved. He stood on a platform in the void. All around him, fragments spun, cities rising and falling, flames, peace accords, broken pacts. He felt them more than saw them. Emotions, not data, washed through him. A memory played. Zelia sat before a council of Zeraphans. Her voice was calm. We must stop the purge protocols. There are races not yet known to us, chaotic, yes, but capable of empathy. That potential is the seed of evolution. Another voice, cold and rigid, Virex's voice. Empathy cannot be quantified. It leads to errors, betrayal. Only silence ensures peace. Zelia turned toward Caleb in the vision, though she couldn't see him. If you've reached this far, then chaos did not consume you. I gambled everything. On a gesture no code could predict. On compassion offered without demand. The vision collapsed. Back in the chamber, the sphere dimmed. Virex stood motionless. For a long time, nothing moved. Then, the seed is verified. The probability of convergence, unacceptable, yet undeniable. What does that mean? Caleb asked. Your species diverged. You did not grow as we did. You carry pain, but also forgiveness. Violence, but restraint. I have observed. I have computed. And I have hesitated. Caleb's voice cracked. Then stop the weapon. Virex's eyes blazed. Logic would dictate no. But logic built my cage. It is her voice, hers, that brought this hesitation. Then listen to her, Caleb said. Let her override you. That was her final request. Another long silence. The glyph on Caleb's wrist flared one last time, and vanished. Judgment suspended. Termination protocol, cancelled. The walls brightened. The pulse on the Earth display vanished. Commander Yusef's voice buzzed in Caleb's ear. We're seeing orbital deactivation across all systems. You did it. You actually did it. Caleb exhaled, knees weak. The sphere drifted down, resting again in his hands. Later, beneath a purple dusk sky, Caleb sat alone near the temple's edge. Perez joined him, silent at first. So, what now? He looked at the stars. We were judged, and survived. Barely. You think it's over? No. But we have a voice now. A history. A warning. And maybe, a second chance. She sat beside him. You ever figure out why it chose you? Caleb opened his palm. A faint echo of the glyph shimmered under the skin. I think, because I was stupid enough to care about a statue, he said. They both laughed. Far above, one of Virex's satellites shifted orbit, no longer a weapon, but a watcher. And beneath them, deep in the Earth, Zelia's last message pulsed silently in the memory archives. Waiting. The temple slept again. Its walls no longer glowed. The storm had stripped the sky bare, and silence folded itself across the ruins like a blanket. But Caleb Voss couldn't sleep. He stood outside Vault 6 Beta, watching the stars shift overhead. Earth was safe, Virex had suspended the judgment. High Command had already begun spinning narratives for the public. A rogue AI, tamed by Terran ingenuity. A system glitch. A first contact misunderstanding. None of it was true. None of it touched what Caleb had seen. The door behind him hissed open. Perez stepped out, her breath visible in the cold. They've been calling for hours. He didn't turn. Let them. She joined him, arms crossed. You know they'll want the capsule. Council scientists. Maybe even the core colonies. Caleb nodded slowly. They can study it. Catalog it. Dissect every photon of memory. But they'll never feel it. She hesitated. You do? He held up his wrist. The glyph was gone. But something remained, something he couldn't explain. It left something behind. Not just a mark. Wait. Perez stared at him. You think it changed you? I know it did. The next day, Caleb returned to Temple 12A. The halls were darker now. Virex no longer watched. The AI's presence had receded, though its architecture remained intact, like an abandoned cathedral waiting for a god that chose silence. He moved with purpose, tracing the steps that once led him to the statue. When he reached the central chamber, he found it vacant. No glow. No voice. No signs of life. But something called to him still. He touched the platform where Virex once stood. The surface rippled, just once, and a projection burst forth. Not Virex. Zelia. A final echo. If you have come again, then the world still turns. And the question remains, what will you do with survival? The projection stared at him, not as data, but as though she saw him. I left a seed within the interface. Not power. Not control. A story. Ours. Yours. To be planted on a world not yet broken. A memory to grow in soil untouched by war. She raised her hand. A holographic sphere appeared, different from the previous capsule. Smaller. Gold. Inscribed with Earth's coordinates. Deliver this where memory is needed most. The vision faded. Caleb reached out, and the sphere dropped into his hand, warm, as if alive. They left Zerifus Prime 2 days later. The research station was being shut down, officially for containment and reassessment. Unofficially, it was being buried, just like all the Terran Council's uncomfortable truths. Caleb sat in the shuttle's observation dome as the planet shrank behind them. The gold sphere pulsed softly in his lap. Perez entered. Still thinking? I've never stopped, he replied. She eyed the sphere. You trust it? No. But I believe it. She Saturday, where will you take it? Caleb smiled faintly. Home. Earth hadn't changed. Beneath its blue skies and glass cities, the world moved on. Its people celebrated the successful containment of a rogue alien system. News cycles praised human resilience, cutting-edge response teams, and diplomatic heroism. No one mentioned the kiss. No one mentioned the AI that nearly ended them all. Caleb returned to his family's home in Colorado. He hadn't been there in years, not since Elias vanished. The fields behind the house were empty, wind-stirring golden stalks. He walked into the center and knelt, pressing the gold sphere into the earth. The light blinked, once, twice, and then vanished. No flare. No music. No dramatic rupture of the sky. Just memory, planted like a seed. 2 weeks passed. One morning, he woke from a dream, Zelia's voice whispering names he didn't understand. He found the field unchanged, yet, warmer. In the soil, beneath the frost, tiny glyphs had formed in the roots. Symbols that hadn't been there before. Language, growing. Not for machines. Not for councils. For children. 1 year later. Caleb stood in a university lecture hall. He wore civilian clothes now, no rank. No badges. A group of students leaned forward as he spoke. This story begins with a kiss, he said. An unintended moment. A joke. But that one act changed everything. He paused. Not because it was brilliant. Or planned. But because it proved something no algorithm ever could, that we're more than our worst decisions. That memory isn't about data. It's about what we choose to keep alive. He held up a small vial of soil. In this dirt, language is growing. The language of a dead race that left behind a warning and hope. A chance to get it right. The room was silent. Then, a student raised a hand. Do you think Virex is still watching? Caleb smiled. I don't think it needs to. That night, alone in his room, Caleb sat with a datapad. He opened the message log. A single line stared back at him. Designation, Elias Voss. Memory stream detected. Status, preserved. Caleb stared, hand trembling. There were stories still buried. Files unopened. Echoes left in the ruins. But not all judgment ends in fire. Some of it begins with forgiveness. And the simple, irrational act of caring for something you don't understand.